These are Shedeur Sanders sneakers, bruh. So we have a release date on these. So these come out in April. Wow. Wow. That's a whole nother video, bro. I ain't gonna lie. So his signature shoes gonna come out in April, bro. These are nice.
Sanders is the first fifth-round rookie to make the Pro Bowl since Puka Nacua.
Let's talk about it.
But let's talk about his stats before we talk about the Pro Bowl, all right? His 2025 stats, all right? He went 120 of 212 passes for completions, 1,400 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Now, Cam, that has raised a lot of red flags around the...
He walked into Pro Bowl practice like he owned the place. But what happened next sent shockwaves through the entire locker room, and the NFL world wasn't ready for it. The young quarterback had something to prove, not just on the field, but off it too. And when he decided to make his move, when he decided to flex what he'd been quietly building behind the scenes, nobody saw it coming. This is the story of how one decision, one moment, one signature shoe deal became the moment that changed everything. He didn't just appear out of nowhere. For years, scouts had been watching him develop, a quarterback with elite athleticism, confidence that bordered on cocky, and a father's legacy hanging over every single decision he made. The pressure was immense. The expectations were astronomical. But here's what people didn't realize. While everyone was focused on his on-field performance, he was building something else entirely, something bigger, something that would eventually shake the entire NFL. The signature shoe market isn't for everybody. You have to have that star power. You have to have the charisma, the following, the undeniable cultural impact that makes brands want to bet millions on your name. And this quarterback, he had all of it. Plus something more dangerous, ambition without limits. His teammates had no idea what was coming. His coaches had no idea. Even the league itself didn't see the play being made in the shadows. It started with rumors. Always does, right? A late-night conversation in the locker room, a cryptic Instagram story, an unnamed source telling reporters something big was brewing, something that involved marketing, branding, and a level of business sophistication that frankly shocked people who only knew him as a football player. Who does he think he is? Some players muttered. That's cocky, others said. But the whispers grew louder, more specific. Word spread that he'd been in meetings with major brands, the kind of meetings reserved for proven superstars with multi-year NFL track records, not rookies, not second-year players, not guys still fighting to solidify their position in the league. Yet there he was. His confidence was almost unsettling to some. Here was a young man who hadn't yet fully proven himself at the highest level, and he was already moving like he'd already won 3 Super Bowls, like his legacy was already cemented, like the shoe deal was just the next logical step in an empire he was building. The locker room sensed it. You can always tell when someone knows something you don't, when they're operating on a different frequency, when they've already made the mental leap to the next level and everyone else is still catching up. And that's when Pro Bowl week arrived.
Signature shoe reveal is a game changer for Shedeur's brand and why the NFL world is absolutely buzzing right now.
Oh, man, he done went off. Now, we all understand that, hey, it could have been other selections. But, hey, who don't want to see Shedeur Sanders play on the Pro Bowl? Comment down below. Let us know. And why? Tell us a valid reason. Let us know why. You know, people been going off talking about, hey, I guess this means the Cleveland Browns going to retire his jersey at halftime. You know, and then this fella here.
Pro Bowl practice. It's supposed to be relaxed, right? A chance for elite players to get together, have fun, compete at a high level without the brutality of the regular season. Mostly, it's about respect, camaraderie, and establishing yourself among the absolute best in the world. So when he walked out onto that court, it wasn't just what he was doing physically on the field, it was what he was wearing. Custom, personalized, with his initials woven into the design. His signature shoe. The one he'd been secretly developing with major designers and engineers, the one nobody knew about until that exact moment. And he wasn't subtle about it. He wore them during drills, he wore them during competitive reps. Every time he made a move, every time he threw a pass, every time he moved across that court, those shoes were visible, unmissable, impossible to ignore. Other players noticed immediately. Some looked impressed, some looked annoyed, some looked straight up jealous. Because here's what was really happening. He wasn't just wearing a shoe, he was making a statement. He was saying, I'm not just a player here, I'm a brand. I'm a businessman. I'm someone you need to pay attention to, not just for what I can do on the field, but for what I represent off it. The shoe itself was incredible. Premium materials, innovative design, the kind of attention to detail that showed this wasn't some hastily thrown together merchandise drop. This was a legitimate product from a legitimate designer. One veteran player pulled him aside. That's bold, he said, and you could hear both respect and warning in those two words. But our quarterback, he just smiled because he knew something they didn't. He knew the deal was already done. He knew the announcement was coming. He knew that by the end of the week, everyone would be talking about it. He was playing chess while they were playing checkers. Word spread fast, and I mean fast. By the second day of practice, it wasn't just players talking about it. Media members were asking questions, analysts were speculating, social media was going absolutely haywire trying to figure out who designed the shoes, which brand was backing them, and how this young quarterback had managed to pull off something that seemed impossible. The narrative started to shift. Suddenly, he wasn't just another young player trying to prove himself. He was an entrepreneur, a businessman, someone thinking beyond football, someone building an empire. And that made people nervous. Because here's the thing about the NFL.
So here's what we learned from all of this. Sometimes the most shocking moments aren't about what happens on the field. They're about what's happening in someone's mind. They're about the audacity to think bigger, the courage to break the mold, the willingness to be polarizing in pursuit of something greater. Did he handle it perfectly? No. Would veteran players have done it differently? Absolutely. Should he have been more measured with his approach? That's debatable. But you know what? He proved something crucial. The next generation of NFL stars isn't just thinking about football anymore. They're thinking about empires, about brands, about legacy in a way that goes beyond championships and Pro Bowl selections. The shoe deal was the spark, but the real story was about a young man refusing to play by the old rules, refusing to wait his turn, refusing to accept that you have to be a certain age or have a certain resume before you're allowed to think big. Whether that's arrogance or genius, that probably depends on whether he succeeds on the field. If he becomes an elite quarterback, this whole moment becomes a legendary origin story. If he doesn't, it becomes a cautionary tale about a young player who got distracted. But one thing's for certain, nobody at Pro Bowl practice that week will ever forget what happened. And that signature shoe, it's already becoming a symbol of something bigger than one player. It's becoming a symbol of a generational shift in how athletes think about themselves and their potential.